Joining us now, Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. Senator, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Okay, you know what it's like to have a tough debate. You posted about this and said for people who were freaking out, you said, chill the blank out. But that's, the worries have only grown. You heard Lucas's reporting. We now have the New York Times, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a number of pundits on the left saying it's got to be done for the good of the country, for the president to step away. Have you changed your position at all?
Oh, no. Oh, no. I don't put any kinds of, there's no value in any of those things. I mean, there was that same kind of a freak out after my debate. And in fact, I might even say that I had a more difficult evening than the president did. And here I am right now having this conversation. And I really like to remind to everybody watching that right now, Biden is 1 and Trump is still 0. And he's the only person that's ever beaten Trump. And I really believe that Joe Biden will do that again, despite all of the Democrats wetting the bed over that kind of thing. I'm right here there.
Senator, your position, obviously, is that we've been able to watch and see this incredible recovery for you. You've, gotten consistently better and better. But a lot of folks will point to President Biden and say if this is a matter of age, if it's a matter of ability, that's not going to reverse. So different than your situation?
Well, no, it's of course we both had a difficult debate, and yet we still managed to go on to win. Now, everybody was calling that was the end of my career. That was the end of this race. And everyone was predicting that I was going to lose, actually, by 2 points or more. And I smoked Oz by 5 points right now. And that's what I'm saying. It's like one debate is not a career any more than Donald Trump. 38 convictions for felonies aren't really going to define, his reputation and his presidency. And that's why they're both here again. And it's that same year conversation that I said this in 2016, that it's going to be very close. I've said this in 2020, and I'm saying it consistently through this race now. It's going to be very close.
And just for clarity, 34, and he is awaiting sentencing. We'll be covering that on July 11th ahead of the convention. You talk about the president being able to win, but is that the only measure here? Do you have any worries that he can actually govern if he does win for 4 more years?
I don't, because I've watched him for the last 4 years, and he's done incredibly good things. I mean, he got us through that pandemic that over 1 million Americans cost their lives through that. And look at our economy. Ours is the world's envy, economic kinds of power. And look at the stock market. Look at all these other kinds of metrics. People were calling that it was going to be a recession, and here we are now booming on all of those kinds of things. So the president has done a really good job, and he deserves a second term. But I really do want to be clear. It's going to be very close. I've said this before, and that's not going to change.
Well, in our latest polling that we did in Pennsylvania specifically, because it is such a bellwether important state for any candidate who wants to try to get to the White House, showed it was a tie. Our last polling had it at 48 even for both of these men head to head. There's a slightly different look when you do bring in third-party candidates. But you mentioned the economy, and so I want to bring this up. In Pennsylvania, when asked who would do a better job on foreign policy, on the economy, on immigration and the border, there specifically in Pennsylvania, they gave wide margins to President Trump. So how do you see that playing out in your critical state?
I see polls. The only poll that's really going to matter is Election Day. And the polls changed, and they inverted in my race as well. And here I am as United States Senator, and I just got back from Israel just a couple days ago. And that's why I want to remind everybody that one debate does not define a person's record or the kind of person or the situation. It's certainly not about an election that is 4.5 months ago.
Okay, let's talk about your trip to Israel. You met with a lot of top leaders across the political spectrum there, but I want to start with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You spent time together. He had great praise for your unwavering support of Israel. I wonder what your assessment is if you talked about his perception of support from the Biden administration. Clearly, there have been very public tensions and some differences. What was your conversation with him on that point about?
Well, it was an honor to spend time with him as well. And he's the Democratic elected leader of our key ally. And I had the opportunity to literally meet everybody in leadership. I've met IDF soldiers. I've met university students, again, across the spectrum. And I really wanted to really make sure we stand with Israel throughout all of this. And I've disagreed with the president through that, and I've shared that. And that's why Joe Biden, well, yeah, there's the pictures. I mean, I've had the opportunity to meet, everybody and remind everybody that we need to stand with Israel throughout all of this. And it's going to get more and more difficult, but we also want to make sure we bring back all of this. And I can't possibly support any kind of a deal unless for peace, as long as Hamas can't be in power on any of that. Hamas needs to be effectively neutralized before there's any kinds of peace.
And there's a left wing of your party, more progressive, that differs with you on that. They're asking for totally different things and pointing the blame at different places. They've been very vocal. Are you worried about how that might impact President Biden's ability to shore up the Democrats and to win re-election, knowing those other voices are calling? Some of them, they've got a movement called Abandon Biden. They've supported him in the past, and now they're actively campaigning against him.
And that whole Abandon Biden thing, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I mean, if you are more inclined to vote for a Democrat or be a Democrat, if you're willing to walk away from Joe Biden, you're by defecting helping Trump. And that's really it is. And if any of that kind of a movement has that kinds of move, then they want to play with that kind of fire, they better earn that burn. And now, especially because people now have turned their backs on Joe Biden, now it's going to mean sure that it's going to be an all hands on the deck. And that's can continue to talk about. This is a very stark choice. What kind of president do you want for the next 4 years? What do you want to talk about? The things that these men are obsessed with. One is rebuilding America and taking us in a better direction, or Donald Trump, who is obsessed with revenge and has been very clear about he is here to be your retribution. And I don't believe that the president in office should never be weaponized against the people in this America that just happen to disagree with you.
Well, we know that you are in the middle of a lot of diverse, divisive, heated conversation. Senator, thank you for making time for us. Good to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.